Story 1. The Woman Who Kept Knocking. The knocking started at 2:47 a.m., and Sarah knew it was 2:47 because she'd been staring at her phone, unable to sleep, when the sound cracked through the silence of apartment 4B. 3 slow knocks, deliberate, the kind that said someone was waiting, expected to be let in. She lived alone on the 4th floor of the Riverside Apartments in Portland, Oregon, and nobody should have been at her door at this hour. She didn't move. The knocking came again. 3 measured strikes against hollow wood. Then silence. Sarah held her breath, waiting in the darkness of her bedroom, her phone's blue light the only illumination. Her apartment was small, just 800 square feet, and sound traveled. She could hear Mrs. Chen's television through the wall most nights, could hear the couple in 4C arguing every Sunday. But right now, all she heard was her own heartbeat. The knocking returned. Same rhythm. 3 strikes. Patient. Certain. Sarah crept out of bed, her bare feet silent on the laminate flooring. She'd moved here 6 months ago after her divorce. Specifically chose the 4th floor because it felt safer, more removed from street-level threats. The peephole would show her who this was. Probably drunk guy, wrong apartment. Happened sometimes in buildings like this, 24 units stacked on 6 floors, people mixing up 4B and 2B after bar close. She approached the door, each step feeling too loud despite her caution. The hallway light outside had motion sensors, should have clicked on when someone approached. But her peephole showed only darkness. Complete, absolute darkness, as if someone had covered it with their palm. Who is it? Her voice sounded thin, reedy. No response. Then the knocking again. 3 times. Same tempo, same pressure. Exactly identical to every time before. Sarah backed away from the door. Something felt profoundly wrong. She grabbed her phone, pulled up her neighbor Marcus's contact in 4D. They'd exchanged numbers when she moved in, that friendly neighbor thing. 3 a.m. was late, but this was weird enough. Marcus, hey, I'm sorry to wake you. Is someone knocking on your door? His voice came back groggy, confused. What? No. Why? Someone's knocking on mine. Won't stop. Can you look in the hallway? She heard rustling, footsteps. Then his voice changed, became more alert. Sarah, there's nobody in the hallway. I'm looking right now. The lights are on. It's empty. The knocking came again while she had him on the phone. 3 deliberate strikes. She heard it clearly, felt the vibration through the floor. You don't hear that? She whispered. Hear what? Sarah ended the call, stared at her door. The knocking stopped. She waited 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. Maybe she'd imagined it. Stress and insomnia creating phantom sounds. She'd read about that, auditory hallucinations from sleep deprivation. She'd been averaging 4 hours a night since the divorce. She went back to bed, pulled the covers up, tried to convince herself it was nothing. The knocking woke her from shallow sleep. Still dark, her phone read 4:13 a.m. 3 knocks. Patient, certain, expecting her. This time she called the police non-emergency line. Explained the situation. The dispatcher was professional, but clearly skeptical. Ma'am, you said your neighbor checked and saw no one. Yes, but I hear it. I'm hearing it right now. Is it possible it's coming from another apartment? Sound travels in buildings. It's my door. I can feel it. They said they'd send someone when a unit was available. Non-emergency meant low priority. Sarah understood but wanted to scream that this felt very much like an emergency, that something was fundamentally wrong with knocking that only she could hear. She sat in her living room, lights on, waiting. The knocking came every 20 to 30 minutes. Always 3 strikes, always the same. She started recording on her phone, played it back. The knocking was there, clear and distinct. She wasn't imagining it. At 5:30 a.m., she opened her door. The hallway was empty. Motion sensor lights bright and sterile. Cheap brown carpet, cream walls, the smell of someone's curry dinner from hours ago. Nothing unusual. She looked at her door from the outside. No marks, no signs of tampering. But there was something new. A wet handprint on her door at chest height. Not water. Something thicker, darker. She touched it carefully. It was sticky, still fresh. Left a residue on her fingertips that smelled like iron and rot. Sarah slammed back inside, locked the door, engaged the chain. She went to her sink, scrubbed her hand until the skin turned red. The police never came. At 6 a.m., the knocking stopped. She called in sick to work, spent the day researching the building's history online. The Riverside Apartments were built in 1973. Nothing remarkable in the public record. No murders, no deaths she could find. She posted in a local Reddit group asking about the building. Got 3 responses. 2 were jokes. The third was a private message from a username she didn't recognize. What floor are you on? 4th? Why? Move. Don't wait. Just go. The account deleted before she could respond. That night, Sarah stayed at a friend's house. Explained she was having door issues, needed the building to fix something. Slept 6 hours straight, the best rest in months. The next day, she returned to her apartment in daylight. Felt foolish for running. It was afternoon, sunny, normal. She made coffee, caught up on work emails. The knocking started at 2:47 a.m. Sarah was ready this time. She'd set up her laptop camera pointed at the door, recording. Watched the screen as the knocking came. 3 strikes. On camera, she could see her door moving slightly with each impact. Something was physically knocking. But the screen showed the door from inside, showed that nothing was in her apartment creating the sound. The knocking continued. Every 20 to 30 minutes, all night. At 5:30 a.m., she checked the camera before opening her door. Fast-forwarded through the hours of footage. At 4:52 a.m., something appeared on screen. A woman's hand reached into frame from the right side, from where the camera couldn't see, where only solid wall existed in Sarah's apartment. The hand was pale, fingers too long, nails torn and bleeding. It pressed against the door from the inside, Sarah's side. Impossible. The hand withdrew, appeared again at 5:14 a.m. Same thing, then 5:32 a.m., each time staying longer, pressing harder against the wood. Sarah packed a bag. She was done. Lease be damned. Security deposit lost. She'd figure it out. She grabbed her laptop, essentials, headed for the door. Her hand touched the knob when the knocking came again. 3 strikes. She froze. Then the knocking came from behind her. Sarah spun. Her apartment was small, nowhere to hide. The sound came from her bedroom. 3 knocks against the wall adjoining Mrs. Chen's apartment. She approached slowly. The knocking moved. Now it came from the bathroom. She followed. It moved to the kitchen. Then back to the front door. It was leading her in circles. What do you want? Sarah's voice cracked. The knocking stopped. In the silence, she heard something new. Breathing. Wet, labored breathing coming from everywhere at once. From inside the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling. The smell hit her then. That same iron and rot from the handprint, but stronger now. Overwhelming. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Let me in. Sarah ran. Didn't unlock the door, didn't touch it. Ran to the window, 4th floor be damned. The window wouldn't open, painted shut or jammed or something worse. She grabbed a chair, slammed it against the glass. The window held. She hit it again. The glass didn't even crack. The knocking came from the window, from outside. 4 stories up, nothing out there but air and night. 3 strikes against the glass. Patient, certain. Sarah pressed herself into the corner farthest from all walls, pulled out her phone, dialed 911. Actual emergency now. There's someone in my apartment. I don't know how they got in. Please send help. Ma'am, can you see the intruder? No, but they're here, they're knocking. They're everywhere. Can you safely exit the apartment? Sarah looked at her door. The handle was turning, slowly, back and forth. Testing. The deadbolt was engaged, chain lock secure, but the handle kept turning. I can't go to the door. Ma'am, we're sending units now. Stay on the line. The handle stopped moving. The breathing sound faded. Everything went quiet. Sarah stayed in her corner, operator on the line, waiting. Police arrived 12 minutes later. She heard them in the hallway, heard them knock. Normal knocking, human knocking, 3 quick, professional raps. Portland Police, ma'am. We got a call. Sarah made herself stand, approached the door, checked the peephole. 2 officers, visible and real. She opened up. They came in, checked the apartment thoroughly, found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no intruder, no evidence of anyone else present. The window won't open, she told them. I tried to break it. One officer checked. It slid open smoothly. Seems fine, ma'am. They took a report, suggested she contact building management about changing locks, recommended a mental health crisis line if she needed support. They were professional, kind even, but she saw it in their eyes. They thought she was unstable, imagining things. After they left, Sarah sat on her couch until dawn. At 8 a.m., she went to the building manager's office. Mr. Kowalski was 60-something, had managed Riverside for 15 years. I need to break my lease. I'll pay whatever penalty. What's the problem? Sarah started to explain. Stopped. How could she? Personal reasons. Mr. Kowalski studied her face. You're in 4B? Yes. He sighed, leaned back in his chair. You're the 4th tenant in that unit in 2 years. Most don't make it past 3 months. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That previous tenants left without explanation? That some people hear things? Nobody's been hurt. Nothing provable happens. Building inspector found nothing wrong. What would I say? What is it? I don't know. But every tenant in 4B reports the same thing. Knocking at 2:47 a.m., always the same time, always 3 knocks. He pulled out a form. I'll waive the lease break fee. Just sign here. Sarah moved out that day. Stayed with her friend while she found a new place. Never went back except once, with friends present in daylight, to get her remaining things. The apartment felt normal, looked normal. Just another unit in another building. She lives across town now. Different building, different management. Sleeps mostly fine. But sometimes, at 2:47 a.m., she wakes for no reason, heart pounding, and listens to the silence. Making sure it stays silent, making sure it doesn't start again. Last week, she saw a listing for Riverside Apartments online. Unit 4B available, reduced rent, immediate occupancy. The photos showed her old apartment, empty and clean. In one photo, of the front door taken from inside, she zoomed in on the screen. There was a handprint on the door. Chest height, still wet. Story 2. The tenant in 7F. Miguel smelled it first. That's what he told the police later. He'd been superintendent of the Glenview Tower Apartments in Chicago for 9 years, handled every kind of problem. But he'd never smelled anything quite like what was seeping from under the door of Unit 7F at 3:20 a.m. on November 14th, 2023. Sweet and rotten simultaneously, like fruit left too long in summer heat mixed with meat gone bad with something else underneath, something chemical and wrong. He'd been doing his overnight rounds, checking the mechanical room on each floor, when the smell hit him on the 7th floor hallway. Strong enough to make his eyes water. 7F had been occupied for 8 months by a woman named Claire Hendricks. Quiet tenant, paid rent on time, never complained, never caused problems. Miguel had only met her twice, both times brief exchanges in the lobby. She'd seemed normal enough. Mid-30s, pale, always wore long sleeves and high collars, even in summer. Kept to herself. He knocked on her door. "Ms. Hendricks? Building maintenance? Need to check on a smell." No response. He knocked louder. The smell intensified, seemed to pulse from beneath the door with each impact of his fist. Miguel tried calling the emergency contact number on file. Straight to disconnected message. Protocol said he could enter for emergencies. This qualified. He radioed down to Earl, the night security guard in the lobby. "Hey, I'm checking 7F. That smell is bad up here. Might need to call someone." "Copy that. Be careful." Miguel used his master key. The door opened 6 inches, then caught on the security chain. The smell rolled out like something physical, made him gag and step back. He could see into the apartment through the gap. Darkness, no lights, but movement. Something shifting in there. Shadows relocating against shadows. "Ms. Hendricks, I'm coming in. This is building management." He used his bolt cutters on the chain. Standard procedure. Against the rules to have them engaged when a tenant was present, but people forgot. The chain snapped. Miguel pushed the door fully open. The apartment was wrong. Not just dirty or messy, wrong. The layout was correct. Same as every F unit in the building. 860 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, open kitchen, and living area. But everything else was changed. The walls were covered in something dark and organic looking, spreading in patterns that hurt to look at directly, that seemed to shift when viewed peripherally. The furniture was there, but twisted, melted somehow, fused with the floor and walls at impossible angles. And it was cold. Miguel's breath misted. The building's heating worked fine, thermostats controlled centrally. But 7F felt like walking into a freezer. "Ms. Hendricks?" Movement from the bedroom. Miguel's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landed on the open doorway. Someone stood there, a woman's silhouette, motionless, watching him. "Ma'am, I need to check on a smell complaint. Are you all right?" The figure didn't respond, didn't move. Miguel approached slowly, hand on his radio. As his flashlight illuminated the bedroom doorway more fully, details resolved. The woman standing there wasn't Claire Hendricks. Couldn't be. The proportions were wrong. Too tall, limbs too long, head tilted at an angle that necks shouldn't accommodate. She wore what might have been clothes once, but they'd fused with her skin, or her skin had grown over them, creating a patchwork texture of fabric and flesh. "I'm calling the police," Miguel said, backing toward the door. The figure moved, not walked, moved. Suddenly 6 feet closer than she'd been, without the intermediate space, without crossing the distance. Just there, then here. Miguel ran, got into the hallway, slammed the door, fumbled with his radio. "Earl, call 911 right now. Something's wrong in 7F. I don't know what, but call them." "What kind of wrong?" "Just call them." Miguel stood in the hallway, breathing hard, watching the closed door of 7F. Nothing happened for 2 minutes. Then the door opened. Slowly. The woman stood in the doorway, backlit by the apartment's wrongness. She looked at Miguel. Her eyes were too large, too dark, reflected his flashlight beam like an animal's. She smiled. Her mouth had too many teeth. Miguel backed toward the stairwell, couldn't take his eyes off her. She stood in the doorway, not pursuing, just watching, smiling. Then she stepped back inside and closed the door. He heard the deadbolt engage from inside. Police arrived 14 minutes later. Miguel met them in the lobby, tried to explain. 4 officers went up. Miguel waited with Earl, watching the security monitors. The cameras showed the officers on the 7th floor, approaching 7F, knocking. The door opened. Claire Hendricks stood there. Normal, human, proportionate. She wore pajamas, looked sleepy and confused. The officers talked to her. She gestured them inside. They entered. The cameras showed them looking around, talking to her. Stay maybe 5 minutes. Then they came back down. Sir, we checked the unit. The senior officer told Miguel. Ms. Hendricks is fine. Apartment is fine. It smells a bit like she's cooking something. Maybe that's what you noticed? That's not what I saw. She wasn't. She's a young woman alone in her apartment at 3 a.m. She's shaken up by being investigated. Unless you have evidence of a crime or emergency, we can't force entry or force her to leave. They left. Miguel stood in the lobby, aware of how insane his story sounded, even to himself. Earl looked at him carefully. You okay, man? You look like you've seen something. We need to go back up there. Something's not right. The cops just checked. She's fine. She's not fine. That wasn't her. Or it was her, but wrong. Earl didn't argue. Probably because they'd worked together for 3 years and Miguel had never panicked about anything. They took the elevator to 7, walked to 7F. The smell was gone completely. Miguel knocked. Claire Hendricks opened the door, looked annoyed. Yes? Ms. Hendricks, I'm sorry about earlier. I was responding to a smell. The police already explained I was cooking. Is there anything else? She looked normal, completely normal. Miguel tried to see past her into the apartment. It looked fine. Regular walls, regular. Furniture, lights on, television playing softly. Can I come in? Just to check the ventilation, make sure nothing's wrong with your vents? It's 3:30 in the morning. No. Unless you have a warrant, please leave me alone. She closed the door. Miguel stood there, Earl beside him. See? Earl said quietly. She's fine. They went back downstairs. Miguel filed a report anyway, documented everything, sent it to building management. They called him the next day, said he was working too many overnight shifts, suggested he take some time off. He refused. Someone needed to watch 7F. For the next week, Miguel checked on 7F every night during his rounds. Knocked, listened, watched. Everything seemed normal. Claire Hendricks ignored him when they passed in the lobby. The smell never returned. Miguel started to question himself, wonder if he'd hallucinated from fatigue. Then other tenants started complaining. 7G, directly above 7F, reported strange sounds at night. Scraping, like furniture being dragged, but also organic sounds, wet sounds. 7E next door complained about the smell, that same sweet, rotten chemical smell. But only at night, only after midnight. 6F below reported stains on their ceiling, dark patches that appeared overnight and spread slowly despite no evidence of leaks. Miguel inspected 7F during the day. Knocked, no answer. Used his master key. The apartment was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no belongings, no signs anyone lived there. Just bare walls and floors. The lease was active, rent paid through automatic bank transfer. But Claire Hendricks was gone. Miguel called the number on her application. Disconnected. Called her emergency contacts. All disconnected. He checked with the leasing office. They had no other information for her. Said she'd provided all the required documentation, passed background checks, everything was legitimate. But the apartment was empty, and nobody had seen her leave. The complaints from neighboring units continued. Got worse. 7G reported their floor was cold, frost forming on the inside of their windows, even with heat on full. 7E said the shared wall felt soft, like pressing on skin, warm and yielding. 6F's ceiling stains spread to cover half their living room, dripped dark liquid that stained everything it touched and smelled like decay. Miguel went back to 7F at night. 3 a.m. exactly. Wanted to see it the same time as before. He opened the door with his master key. The apartment wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Not full of furniture or belongings. Full of Claire Hendricks. Multiple versions of her, dozens of them, standing motionless throughout the space. All identical. All watching the door. All smiling with too many teeth. Miguel slammed the door, locked it, ran. He quit the next day. Didn't give notice, didn't collect his last paycheck, just left. Earl called him, asked what happened. Miguel told him to quit too, get out of that building. Earl laughed it off. Earl disappeared 3 days later. Security footage showed him entering the elevator for a routine check of the upper floors. The elevator went to 7. Doors opened. He stepped out. Walked toward 7F. The camera angle couldn't show what happened next. Just showed Earl standing in front of 7F for 4 minutes, motionless. Then he entered the apartment. Never came out. Police investigated. Found nothing. 7F was empty when they checked, though they did note an unusual smell. Earl's disappearance was classified as a missing person case. Still open, no leads. The building management rented 7F to new tenants. A young couple, excited about the reduced rent, the lake view. They moved in March 1st. Miguel saw it online, saw their photos on social media, them smiling in front of their new building. He wanted to warn them, but didn't know how. Didn't know what to warn them about. They lasted 2 weeks. Both disappeared. Police found the apartment empty again. No signs of struggle, nothing. The leased couple's car was still in the parking garage. Their belongings still in the unit when family members came looking. But the couple themselves were gone. 7F has been empty for 4 months now. No tenants. Management can't rent it even with free first month, even with price drops. People tour it, say they'll think about it, never come back. Something about it feels wrong, they say. Can't explain why. Miguel drives past Glenview Tower sometimes, looks up at the 7th floor. He can see the windows of 7F from the street. They're always dark. Except sometimes, late at night, if you look carefully, you can see movement inside. Lots of movement. Shadows passing back and forth, multiplying, pressing against the glass. And every night at 3:20 a.m., the neighboring units report the same thing. Knocking. Coming from inside their walls. From the direction of 7F. Patient knocking. Like something wants out. Like something is spreading. The building is only 9 years old. Has 18 floors. 144 units. Miguel wonders how long before it spreads to 8F. To 6F. To 7G and 7E and every unit around it. He wonders if the building will have to be condemned eventually, demolished. He wonders if that would even stop it. Story 3. The elevator that went to 14. The Blackwood Arms in Seattle had 13 floors and Tasha Williams had lived on the 11th for 3 years without incident, until the night she pressed the button for her floor and watched the elevator continue past it. The digital display counting up. 11, 12, 13, then 14. There was no 14th floor. It was 1:48 a.m., Tuesday night bleeding into Wednesday morning. And Tasha had just finished her shift at the hospital 6 blocks away. She was tired, wearing scrubs and sneakers, thinking about nothing except getting to her apartment and sleeping before her next shift in 10 hours. She'd been riding this elevator multiple times daily for 3 years. She knew its quirks, the way it jerked between 5 and 6, the panel light for floor 7 that flickered. But she'd never seen it display 14. The elevator didn't stop. The number glowed on the panel, contradicting reality. The Blackwood Arms was built in 1968, 13 floors, 104 units. Tasha had seen the building from outside. There was no 14th floor. The elevator continued upward. She felt it moving, felt the pressure change in her ears. The display showed 14, holding steady. Then the elevator stopped. The doors opened. Tasha stared at a hallway she'd never seen. Same brown carpet as the rest of the building, same cream walls, same fluorescent lights. But the hallway stretched impossibly long. Doors on either side with apartment numbers that shouldn't exist. 14A, 14B, 14C. The lights flickered irregularly, creating strobing shadows. The elevator doors started to close. Tasha jabbed the button for 11, for the lobby, for any floor that actually existed. The buttons didn't respond. The doors closed completely. The elevator went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red glow. The display panel was dead, no numbers. Tasha pressed the emergency call button. Static hissed from the speaker, then a voice, distorted and wet-sounding. 14th floor. Please exit to your left. There is no 14th floor. Take me down. 14th floor. Please exit to your left. The doors opened again. Same impossible hallway. The emergency lights in the elevator shut off. Complete darkness behind her. Flickering light ahead. Tasha understood she was being given a choice that wasn't really a choice. Stay in the dark elevator indefinitely, or step into the hallway. She stepped out. The doors closed immediately behind her. She turned, saw the elevator display above the doors. It showed a down arrow, then the elevator descended without her. The sound of it descending faded quickly, leaving silence. Tasha stood in the hallway, analyzing her situation. She was a nurse, trained to stay calm in emergencies, to assess and respond logically. This wasn't logical, but she could still think clearly. The hallway had maybe 20 doors, 10 on each side. At the far end was a window, or what looked like a window. She'd go there first, orient herself, figure out where she actually was. She walked. Her footsteps sounded wrong, too loud and too soft simultaneously, like the acoustics were broken. The apartment doors had numbers, 14A through 14T, but something was off about them. The paint was too perfect, no wear marks, no scratches. The peepholes were dark, but not dark like empty rooms behind them. Dark like they'd been filled in, blocked. She passed 14C, heard something inside. Music, very faint. Old music, 1940s-style big band. She stopped, listened. The music was real, coming from under the door. She knocked. "Hello? I'm lost. Can you help me?" The music stopped. Footsteps approached the door from inside. Stopped right at the threshold. Tasha heard breathing on the other side, close to the door, close to where her face was. Heavy breathing, labored. "Hello?" She tried again. The breathing got faster, excited. The doorknob turned. Tasha backed away. The door opened 6 inches, chain lock engaged. A man's face appeared in the gap. Wrong. That was Tasha's immediate thought. His face was wrong. The features were too smooth, like a mannequin, but the eyes were too alive, darting and manic. His smile was wide, impossibly wide. "Finally," he said. His voice sounded like two people talking over each other, slightly out of sync. "Finally, someone came to visit. I'm just trying to get back downstairs. I got on the elevator and..." Yes. That's how everyone gets here. The elevator. We all took the elevator. Been waiting so long. Come in." "No, thank you. Can you tell me how to leave?" His smile got wider. That shouldn't have been possible, but it happened. "Leave? Nobody leaves. This is the 14th floor. This is where you live now." "I live on 11. You lived on 11. Past tense. Come in. I'll explain. We'll have tea. I haven't had company in so long. None of us have." "None of you?" He gestured vaguely at the other doors. "The residents of the 14th floor. We're all residents. You're a resident now, too. Which unit did they assign you?" Tasha walked away. The man called after her, voice pitching higher, layered voices becoming more discordant. "You can't leave. There's no leaving. Come back. We can talk. You'll understand. Everyone understands eventually." She heard his door close, but the voice continued, muffled, talking rapidly to himself or to others she couldn't see. Tasha reached the end of the hallway, looked out the window. Nothing. Not darkness, not sky, not city lights. Nothing. The absence of anything, a void that hurt to look at, that created vertigo and nausea. She looked away quickly, hand against the wall, for balance. The wall felt warm under her palm. Too warm. Pulse warm. She needed to find stairs. Every floor had stairwell access, fire code. She looked for exit signs. There were none. She walked back along the hallway, checking for stairwell doors. Every door was an apartment. 14A through 14T, 10 doors per side, 20 total. No exit, no stairs, the elevator. That was the only way. She returned to where the elevator had been. The elevator doors were there, but looked different now. Older. The metal was tarnished, aged. The call button didn't light up when she pressed it. She pressed it repeatedly. Nothing. Doors were opening along the hallway, the residents of the 14th floor emerging. Tasha heard them before she saw them, heard doors clicking open, heard footsteps and breathing and whispered voices. She turned. There were 7 of them, men and women, various ages, all with that same wrong quality, that uncanny valley wrongness. 2 smooth faces, 2 wide eyes, movements, slightly out of sync like footage played at wrong frame rate. They stood in their doorways, watching her. A woman spoke from 14G. "You're trying to leave." "Yes. That's normal. Everyone tries at first. Doesn't work." "How long have you been here?" Tasha asked. The woman thought about it. "Time is different here. Hard to say. Feels like years. Feels like days. Both. I'm a nurse. I have a shift in 10 hours. People will notice I'm missing." A man from 14J laughed, that same doubled voice effect. "They won't notice. They never notice. Down there, you're home sleeping. You got off the elevator on 11, went to your apartment, went to bed. That version of you is fine." That doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. But that's how it works. There's you down there living normally. And there's you up here. Both exist. Both are real. That's not possible. "We all said that," the woman from 14G said. She stepped fully into the hallway, wore what looked like a nightgown from decades ago. "We all said it wasn't possible, but here we are. Here you are." The residents moved closer. forming a loose semicircle around Tasha. Not threatening exactly, but confining. They looked at her with weird intensity, like she was fascinating, like they hadn't seen another person in years. "You'll need an apartment," the man from 14C said. "You can't stay in the hallway. That's against the rules." "What rules?" "The 14th floor has rules. You'll learn. Everyone learns. Choose a door, one of the empty units. Make it yours." "I'm not staying." "You are," the woman from 14G said gently, almost pitying. "You don't have a choice. We didn't either. The elevator chose you. Took you here. Now you're here. You're one of us." Tasha ran, pushed through the semicircle, sprinted down the hallway. She tried door handles randomly, frantically, all locked. She reached the void window, considered it desperately. Could she break it? Climb through, into nothing? Was nothing better than this? The residents didn't chase her. They watched, patient. The woman from 14G called out, "There's nowhere to go. You'll understand. Come back when you're ready." Tasha found a door that wasn't locked. 14K. She went inside, slammed it, locked it, leaned against it, breathing hard, trying to think. The apartment was furnished, fully furnished. Couch, television, kitchen table, everything. Like someone lived here. But dust covered every surface, thick and undisturbed. The apartment layout matched her real apartment on floor 11. Same configuration, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, open living area, same square footage. She checked the windows, all looked out on nothing. That same absence of existence void. Her phone. She'd forgotten to check her phone. Tasha pulled it from her scrubs pocket. No signal, expected, but also no time display. The clock app showed error. The date showed error. Her wallpaper photo was corrupted, pixelated into abstract noise. She tried calling, 911. The call connected. Rang. Someone answered. "Emergency services. What's your emergency?" "I'm trapped. I'm in the Blackwood Arms apartment building, but I'm on a floor that doesn't exist. The 14th floor. I need help." "Ma'am, what is your location?" "The Blackwood Arms, Seattle. I live on the 11th floor, but the elevator took me to..." "Ma'am, I'm not showing a Blackwood Arms in our system. Can you provide an address?" Tasha gave the address. She'd written it on 100 forms, knew it by heart. "Ma'am, that address doesn't exist. Are you sure you have the right street?" "I've lived here 3 years." "Ma'am, I'm going to transfer you to mental health services." Tasha ended the call. Stared at her phone. Tried Googling Blackwood Arms, Seattle. No results. Tried looking up her own address. No results found. She pulled up her photos, recent pictures she'd taken. They were all corrupted, glitched, unrecognizable. She was being erased. Tasha opened the apartment door. The residents were still in the hallway, waiting. More of them now. She counted 12. How many units were occupied on the 14th floor? "How do I get back?" Her voice was smaller than she wanted. "You don't," the woman from 14G said. "We tried, all of us. Spent weeks, months trying. There's no way back. The elevator doesn't come unless it wants to. And when it comes, it only brings new people. Never takes anyone away. So what do? We live here. We wait. We exist. What else is there?" Tasha returned to 14K. She had no food, no change of clothes, no toiletries. She opened the cabinets in the kitchen. They were stocked. Canned goods, dried pasta, everything needed. The refrigerator had fresh food. Milk that wasn't expired, vegetables that weren't wilted. Impossible, but there. The bed was made. The closet had clothes in her size. The bathroom had toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo. Everything she needed. waiting for her, like the apartment knew she was coming. She didn't sleep that night. Sat on the couch, watched the door, listened to sounds in the hallway. Footsteps passing, whispered conversations. At one point, screaming, distant, from several doors away. It lasted minutes, then stopped abruptly. At what felt like morning, though time was impossible to track, Tasha opened her door. The hallway was empty. She went to the elevator, pressed the call button. Nothing. She waited. Kept waiting. After what might have been hours, the elevator arrived. The doors opened. Empty car. She got in. Pressed 11. Pressed lobby. Pressed every button. The doors closed. The elevator went up. The display showed 15. The doors opened on a hallway worse than 14. The walls were wrong here, organic and moving, breathing. The lights were dying, mostly darkness. She could hear things in the apartments, scraping and moaning and wet sounds. Tasha pressed the closed door button frantically. The doors stayed open. Something moved at the far end of the 15th floor hallway. Tall, wrong, approaching. She hit every button. Finally, the doors closed. The elevator descended. Stopped at 14. Doors opened. Tasha got out, went back to 14K, locked herself inside. She lives there now. Has for what feels like months, might be years, might be days. Time doesn't work. She doesn't get hungry often, doesn't need much sleep. The apartment provides what she needs. The residents are mostly kind, understanding. They have gatherings sometimes, dinner parties in each other's units, trying to maintain normalcy. Nobody mentions the 15th floor, or what's above that. The elevator still comes sometimes, still brings new residents. Tasha watches them go through the same panic, the same denial, the same eventual acceptance. She wonders about the other her, the one still living in apartment 11C in the real Blackwood Arms. Does that Tasha know? Does she dream about the 14th floor? Does she avoid the elevator at night? Tasha watches the elevator, waits, hopes. But mostly, she accepts. Story 4. The neighbors who moved overnight. Daniel Reyes noticed the new neighbors in 3C on a Thursday morning in October, which was impossible because 3C had been empty the previous night when he'd gone to sleep. And nobody moves furniture at 3 a.m. without making noise, without waking the entire 3rd floor of Parkside Gardens apartments in Austin, Texas. But there they were. A family, parents and 2 children. Standing in the hallway outside 3C at 7:30 a.m. as Daniel left for work, unloading boxes from a cart. They smiled at him. Normal smiles, friendly neighbor smiles. "Morning," the father said. Mid-40s, average height, average build, completely unremarkable. "Just moving in. I'm Robert, this is Linda, and our kids, Sam and Olivia." The family waved. They looked normal, wholesome even. The kids were maybe 8 and 10, wearing matching blue shirts. Linda wore a sundress despite the October chill. Robert had on khakis and a polo shirt. "Daniel, I'm in 3B, right next door. Didn't hear you moving in." "We're quiet movers," Robert said. That same pleasant smile. Didn't want to disturb anyone. Daniel went to work, didn't think much about it. Parkside Gardens was a decent complex. 200 units across 8 buildings, well-maintained, good management. New neighbors were normal. The timing was weird, but not impossible. Maybe they'd moved stuff in during the day, he just hadn't seen it. But that night, lying in bed, Daniel heard them through the wall he shared with 3C. Heard voices, multiple voices, more than 4, talking constantly, overlapping, never stopping. He couldn't make out words, just the continuous murmur of conversation, like a large party happening at midnight. He got up, went to the wall, listened. The voices were definitely coming from 3C. Definitely more than 4 people. He checked the time. 12:43 a.m. He knocked on the shared wall. The voices stopped immediately. Complete silence. Daniel went back to bed. The voices resumed after 5 minutes. Quieter now, but still there. He put in earplugs, tried to sleep. Over the next week, Daniel saw the family regularly. They were always together. All 4 of them. Every time. Morning, evening, weekend, weekday. Always in the hallway at the same time, doing ordinary things. Taking out trash, checking mail, coming and going. Always together, always smiling. "How are you settling in?" Daniel asked on Saturday, passing them in the parking lot. All 4 were getting into their car. A gray sedan, generic model, recent year. "Great," Linda said. Her voice had an odd quality, flat effect despite the smile. "Everyone's so friendly here." "Where'd you move from?" "Oh, around," Robert said. Non-answer. "We move a lot for my work." "What do you do?" "Consulting." Another non-answer. The kids said nothing, never said anything. Daniel had seen them multiple times. They never spoke. Just smiled with their parents. Stood where they were supposed to stand. At night, the voices continued. Daniel started tracking them. They began exactly at midnight, continued until sunrise, then stopped. During the day, 3C was silent. But from midnight to dawn, constant voices. He recorded on his phone. Played it back. Couldn't make out words, but could count distinct voices. At least 15 different speakers, maybe more. Daniel wasn't the only one noticing. Gina from 3D mentioned it Tuesday morning. "The new family in 3C, are they having parties every night? I hear it through my wall." "I hear it too," Daniel confirmed. "Should we complain to management?" They filed a complaint together. Management said they'd send someone to investigate. Nothing changed. The next night, same voices. Daniel knocked on their door at 12:30 a.m. The voices were loud, clearly audible in the hallway. Multiple conversations happening simultaneously. Robert answered. Alone. Behind him, the Bebedahakt apartment was dark and silent. "Hey, sorry to bother you. The walls are thin and I can hear talking late at night. Could you keep it down after midnight?" Robert's pleasant smile never wavered. "Of course. Sorry about that. We'll be quieter." "Are you having people over?" "Sounds like a lot of voices." "Just us, family discussions. We're night owls." "Sounds like more than 4 people." "Acoustics are weird in these apartments." Robert's smile was unchanging, frozen. "We'll keep it down." He closed the door. The voices didn't resume that night. Daniel slept well for the first time in a week. But the next night they came back, louder, angrier sounding, urgent conversations, debates, arguments. Daniel pounded on the wall. The voices didn't stop. He called the courtesy officer at 1 a.m. They came, knocked on 3C, no answer. The courtesy officer said they heard the noise, would file a report with management. Nothing changed. Daniel started paying closer attention to the family. Something was wrong beyond the noise. He noticed they never carried groceries, never had delivery, never seemed to have any of the normal traffic of daily life. They left in their car every morning at 7:45, returned every evening at 6:15, exactly. Same time every day. He started tracking it. 7:45 departure, 6:15 return, no variation, not 1 minute difference, for 12 consecutive days. That wasn't normal. Nobody's schedule was that precise. And the kids, Sam and Olivia, They never played, never went to school, never were apart from their parents. Daniel watched from his window. The family would return at 6:15, park, walk to the building entrance. All together, all in step. Their movements synchronized. He mentioned it to Gina. She'd noticed too. They're creepy, right? Something's off about them. Really off? I looked up their names in the resident directory. 3C is listed as vacant. Management hasn't updated it yet, or what? Or they're not actually tenants. But that doesn't make sense. Who are they then? Daniel decided to check. Went to the leasing office, asked to speak with the property manager. I'm wondering about the new tenants in 3C. When did they move in? The property manager checked her computer, frowned. 3C has been vacant for 2 months. We're renovating it next week. There's a family living there. I've seen them, the Millers. Robert and Linda and their kids. That's not possible. The unit is empty. I have the keys right here. She showed him the key tagged with 3C. Can we check? They went to the 3rd floor together. Daniel knocked on 3C. No answer. The property manager unlocked the door. The apartment was empty. Completely empty. No furniture, no belongings, no people. Just bare walls and floors, some renovation supplies in the corner. See? The property manager said. Vacant. But I've seen them multiple times. They answered this door. Mr. Reyes, I don't know what you've seen, but this unit has been empty for 2 months. Nobody has keys except management. Daniel stood in the empty apartment. It was the same layout as his, mirror image. He went to the shared wall with his unit, put his hand on it, knocked, heard the sound in both apartments, transmission through drywall and studs. Can I see the lease history? Daniel asked. Back in the office, the property manager pulled up records. The previous tenant moved out August 15th. Before that, it was occupied for 3 years by a single woman, no issues. Before that, she paused, scrolling. That's strange. What? The unit has a weird history. High turnover. Most tenants don't stay more than a few months. Going back years. Any complaints on file? She checked. Lots of noise complaints, all from neighboring units, about loud voices at night. But whenever management investigated, the tenants said they didn't hear anything, or nobody was home, or... She trailed off. Or what? Or the unit was vacant at the time. Multiple complaints filed when the unit was between tenants. Daniel felt cold. So the noise happens whether someone lives there or not. According to this, yes. He went back to his apartment. Waited until midnight. The voices started on schedule. He recorded video this time, showing the empty apartment 3C through his peephole, showing his clock displaying 12:03 a.m., showing the audio levels spiking on his phone as the voices came through the wall. The voices were clearer tonight. He could almost make out words. He pressed his ear against the wall, listening. It was conversation. Dozens of people talking. He caught fragments. Don't understand why we're still... Been so long. They can't hear us. He hears us, the one next door. Daniel jerked away from the wall. They were talking about him. He was sure of it. He grabbed his phone, called Gina. Are you hearing this? Yeah, it's bad tonight. What the hell is going on? Meet me in the hallway. They stood outside their doors, between 3C and 3D. The voices were audible even without pressing against walls, coming from inside 3C, muffled but present. Daniel tried his recording on the lock. It worked. He'd been given a master key years ago for a maintenance emergency. Never returned it. Technically against rules, but he still had it. He opened 3C. The apartment was dark, empty. But the voices were louder, echoing in the bare space, coming from everywhere and nowhere. They weren't recordings. They were real voices, real conversations, happening in real time. He's here. Finally, someone can hear. Help us. Hello, Daniel called out. Who's here? The voices stopped. Silence held for 10 seconds. Then they resumed, all at once, urgent and desperate. Help! Trapped! So long! Please! Gina grabbed Daniel's arm. We should leave. Something moved in the darkness of the empty apartment. Not a person, a shadow. Multiple shadows. They had form but no substance, human-shaped but not human. They pressed toward Daniel and Gina, soundless except for the voices. See us. Finally, help us leave. Daniel and Gina backed out, closed the door. The voices continued, now pleading, screaming. Daniel locked the door. They stood in the hallway, breathing hard. What was that? Gina whispered. I don't know. The door to 3C opened from inside. Robert stood there. Behind him, the apartment was furnished again. Lived in. Normal. The family was visible, sitting on the couch, watching television. Everything okay? Robert asked. Pleasant smile. Who are you? Daniel demanded. What are you? We're your neighbors, the Millers, remember? That apartment is empty. We just saw it. Does it look empty? Robert gestured behind him. Fully furnished, family present, television playing, some sitcom. Daniel tried to see past Robert, tried to spot something wrong. Everything looked real, solid, but it felt like a projection, a facade. The voices at night, Daniel said. Who's talking? I told you, just us. Family discussions. There are dozens of voices. Are there? Robert's smile finally changed, widened, became wrong. Maybe you're hearing other things, other residents. This building has history, Daniel. Lots of people have lived here. Lots of people have left. Where do you think they go? The door closed. Daniel called the police, explained that something was wrong with his neighbors, that they appeared and disappeared, that voices came from an empty apartment. The police came, knocked on 3C. No answer. Checked with management, confirmed the unit was vacant, suggested Daniel might be experiencing stress, recommended resources. The next morning, Daniel saw the family leaving. 7:45 exactly. All together, all smiling. Sam and Olivia waved at him. He didn't wave back. He researched Parkside Gardens, found old news articles. 10 years ago, a woman disappeared from the building. Unit 3C. Police found no evidence of foul play. She'd simply vanished. Before that, a man had died in 3C. Natural causes officially, but friends said he'd complained about hearing voices. The building was 40 years old. How many people had lived in 3C over 4 decades? How many had complained about voices? How many had vanished or died or simply left without explanation? Daniel broke his lease, lost his deposit, didn't care. Moved out within a week. Gina moved out too. They didn't discuss it. Both just left. Management was annoyed but didn't fight them. From his new apartment across town, Daniel sometimes looks up Parkside Gardens online. Checks the listings. 3C is always available. Always reduced rent. New photos every few months, showing the empty unit, encouraging people to view it. And in the reviews, if you read carefully, if you look at the 1-star complaints, they're there. Mentions of noise from 3C, of strange neighbors who appear and disappear, of voices at night that never stop. The Miller family is still there. Daniel knows. He drove past once, late at night. Saw them in the window of 3C. All 4 of them, standing motionless, looking out, looking down at him, smiling. Story 5. The apartment pool after hours. Marcus Chen wasn't supposed to be at the pool at 2:30 a.m., but insomnia was winning and chlorinated air seemed better than staring at his ceiling, so he took the elevator from his 8th-floor apartment at Riverside Commons in Denver to the amenity level, using the key card that was technically only valid until 11 p.m., and walked into the indoor pool area to find someone already in the water. A woman, floating face down, motionless. Marcus dropped his towel, ran to the edge. "Hey, are you okay?" The woman didn't respond. She wore a dark one-piece swimsuit, long black hair spreading around her head like ink in water. Marcus kicked off his shoes, preparing to jump in, when the woman flipped over, her face breaking the surface. She was smiling. "Water's nice," she said. Her voice echoed strangely in the enclosed pool area. "You should come in." "Jesus, I thought you were drowning." "Just floating. It's peaceful at night. Nobody around." Marcus's heart was still pounding from adrenaline. The woman swam to the edge, pulled herself onto the pool deck in one smooth motion. She was maybe 30, pale skin, dark eyes that reflected the underwater lights oddly. Her swimsuit was old-fashioned, something from decades ago. "I'm sorry I scared you," she said, not sounding sorry. "I come here late sometimes, when I can't sleep. Pool's supposed to be closed after 11. Rules are more like suggestions." She sat on the edge, feet in the water. "I'm Elena. You're in 816? "Yeah. How'd you know?" "I pay attention. Notice people. You moved in 3 months ago, right after that couple moved out. The ones who fought all the time." Marcus had moved in July, and yes, the building manager had mentioned the previous tenants left abruptly. "You've lived here a while?" "Feels like forever." Elena looked at the water. "Do you know the history of this building?" "It's like 10 years old, right?" "The building, yes. But the land. Do you know what was here before?" Marcus sat down a reasonable distance away. The pool area was warm, humid, chlorine smell mixing with something else, something organic. "No idea." "An apartment building, older one, 1870s, maybe 80s. Burned down, 1994, March 16th. 23 people died. That's horrible. Most died in their sleep, smoke inhalation. But some were awake, trapped. The fire started on the first floor, spread fast. People on upper floors couldn't get down. Some jumped. From the 8th floor." She looked at him. "Your apartment is probably right where one of them landed." Marcus felt cold despite the humid warmth. "Why are you telling me this?" "You asked about history. History matters. The things that happened in a place don't just disappear because you build something new. They linger. Echo. That's not how reality works." Elena smiled. "Isn't it? How do you know? Have you tested? Have you been here at 2:30 a.m. before, when the building is asleep, when you can hear what's underneath?" "Underneath what?" "Everything." She slipped back into the water, barely making a splash. "Pay attention tonight. When you go back up, take the stairs. Count how many floors you climb. It's 8 floors. Count anyway." Elena dove underwater, swam to the far end of the pool. Marcus watched her silhouette beneath the surface, distorted by refraction. She reached the far wall, turned, pushed off. Her underwater swimming was wrong somehow. Too smooth, too fast, no need to breathe. She surfaced at the far end. "You're still here." "I came to swim." "Then swim." Marcus slid into the water. It was clearer now. Human forms. Dozens of them. Covering the entire bottom of the pool. Some face up, some face down. All motionless, all wrong. Flattened and pressed down like they existed in fewer dimensions. "This isn't real." Define real, Elena said. She was behind him suddenly, standing on the deck. He hadn't heard her get out. Real is subjective, relative. What you see versus what I see versus what they see. She pointed down at the shapes. Marcus backed away. I'm leaving. You haven't swum enough. You came here to swim, to tire yourself out so you could sleep. Have you achieved that? I don't care. This is insane. Insanity is also subjective. Marcus grabbed his towel, headed for the door. Elena called after him. Remember what I said. Take the stairs. Count the floors. He went to the elevator, pressed the button for 8. Changed his mind. Took the stairs instead. He'd count. Prove she was wrong. Prove this was just 8 floors, normal building, no ghosts or echoes or whatever she was suggesting. He climbed. Counted. Ground level to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. The stairwell was concrete and metal, utilitarian, poorly lit. His wet footprints tracked behind him. 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. Between 6 and 7, the stairs felt longer. He counted steps. 18 steps per flight, normally. This flight had 32. He counted twice to be sure. 7 to 8. This flight was even longer. He stopped counting steps, just climbed. The stairwell felt wrong now. Too cold. His breath misted. The lights flickered. He could hear something below him, other footsteps climbing, matching his pace. He reached the 8th floor door, yanked it open. The hallway looked right. He found his apartment, 816, let himself in, locked the door, stood breathing hard in his dark living room. His apartment felt different. He couldn't identify how. Same furniture, same layout. But something had shifted. He turned on lights, checked rooms. Everything was where it should be. But wrong. He noticed small things. The couch was 6 inches to the left of where he'd left it. The kitchen clock was stopped. The bedroom window was open. He never left windows open. Marcus closed the window, checked it twice. Definitely locked now. He got into bed, set his phone alarm. 3:15 a.m. He'd been gone 45 minutes. He lay there trying to sleep, hyper-aware of every sound. At 3:30, he heard water running. In his apartment, in his bathroom. He got up, checked. The shower was on. Hot water steaming. He hadn't turned it on. He shut it off, hands shaking. Water dripped onto his shoulder. He looked up. Water was seeping through the ceiling, pooling, dripping. But there was no apartment above his. The 8th floor was the top residential level, only roof above. The dripping intensified, became a stream, then a deluge. Water poured from the ceiling, soaking his bathroom. He ran out, grabbed his phone to call maintenance. The water followed him, flooding from the bathroom into the bedroom, into the living room, spreading impossibly fast, rising. Marcus ran for the door. The water was ankle-deep now. He got into the hallway. It was dry, completely dry. He looked back at his apartment. Water poured from his doorway, flooding into the hall. But when he looked at neighboring apartment doors, they showed no water. The flood existed only for him. He ran to the stairs, went down. The water followed, cascading down the stairwell behind him. He descended fast, lost the count of floors, just needed to get out, to ground level, to lobby, to security, to anyone who could help. He burst through a door, expecting the lobby, found himself at the pool. The water from his apartment flowed past him, poured into the pool. The pool level was rising rapidly, overflowing the edges, flooding the deck. Elena stood in the middle of it, water swirling around her ankles. You didn't count carefully enough. What's happening? The building remembers. When it burned, the firefighters brought water. Too late, but they brought it. Thousands of gallons. The building remembers, wants to be saved. Keeps trying to save the people who were inside. The pool was overflowing dramatically now, water gushing out, filling the room. Marcus was waist deep, the current pulling him. He tried to run, but the water was too strong. It pulled him toward the pool. "Don't fight it," Elena said. She was swimming now, floating, at peace in the chaos. "Just let it happen. Everyone else did. It's easier." Marcus went under. The water was everywhere, filling his nose and mouth and lungs. He thrashed, broke surface, gasped. Went under again. This time he saw them clearly. The people at the bottom, trapped there, looking up at him, reaching up. Dozens of hands extending, grabbing, pulling him down. He kicked, fought, clawed upward. His hand hit something solid. He grabbed it, pulled himself up. Broke surface. He was in the pool. Just the pool. Normal water level. No flood. Elena was gone. Marcus climbed out, collapsed on the deck, coughed up water, gasped for air. The pool area was normal. Quiet. Dry. He checked his phone. 3:58 a.m. He'd lost 40 minutes. He went back to his apartment. Stairs this time. Counted carefully. Ground to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 floors exactly, 18 steps per flight. Normal. His apartment was dry, no water damage, no signs of flooding, everything in place. He checked the bathroom. Dry. He checked the ceiling, intact. He didn't sleep. At 6 a.m., he went to the building management office, waited for them to open. Told them he was breaking his lease, emergency circumstances. They charged him the penalty. He paid it without arguing. While doing paperwork, he asked casually, "What was here before this building?" The property manager looked up. "Before? Nothing. Empty lot for years. Nothing burned down here?" "Not that I know of. Why?" "Just curious." Marcus moved out that week. Rented a house instead. No shared walls, no floors above or below. He doesn't swim anymore. Can't stand chlorine smell. Sometimes he researches Riverside Commons online, looking for the history Elena mentioned. He finds nothing. No fire, no deaths. The land was empty before development. But he also finds complaints. Buried in review sites. People mentioning strange things. Water damage in apartments when maintenance finds nothing. Sounds of water running at night. A woman at the pool who swims after hours. One review mentions her name, Elena. Says she's friendly but weird. Says she told them about a fire. The review is from 2 years ago. Marcus drives past Riverside Commons sometimes, never stops, just looks. At the 8th floor windows. Sometimes he sees lights on in 816. Someone new lives there. He wonders if they've met Elena yet, if they will. He wonders if they'll count the stairs. Story 6. The Walls That Breathed. Jade Morrison's first night in apartment 2D at Willow Creek Towers in Minneapolis should have been exciting. Her first place alone, independence after years with roommates. But instead, she lay awake at 1:17 a.m., listening to her walls breathe. In, out, in, out. A steady rhythm, biological and wrong. She pressed her palm against the wall adjoining the neighboring unit. It was warm, and she could feel it moving. Slight expansion and contraction, like lungs, like something massive and alive surrounding her. She pulled her hand back, told herself it was the building settling or pipes, or her imagination amplified by moving day exhaustion. She'd hauled boxes for 12 hours, hadn't eaten properly, was probably dehydrated. That made sense. Rational explanation. But the breathing continued. She could hear it now that she was paying attention. A wet, organic sound, rhythmic and patient. The walls of her bedroom inhaling and exhaling. Jade got up, turned on every light, checked every room of her new apartment. 600 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, cramped kitchen and living area combined. Everything looked normal. Beige walls, standard landlord white paint, slightly textured. She put her ear against different walls. The breathing was everywhere. All walls. External, internal, bathroom, kitchen. All of them moving slightly, all warm, all breathing in unison. She went to her laptop, Googled building breathing sounds. Found explanations about HVAC systems, pressure differentials, thermal expansion. Nothing matched what she was experiencing. This wasn't mechanical. This was biological. At 2 a.m., she knocked on her neighbor's door in 2E. An older man answered, looked annoyed until he saw her distress. "I'm sorry, I just moved into 2D. I'm hearing strange sounds. Are your walls making noise?" He listened. Shook his head. "I don't hear anything unusual. HVAC kicks in sometimes, radiators clank. Old building. It sounds like breathing." "Breathing? Never mind. Sorry to bother you." She went back to 2D. The breathing had intensified. Faster now, like her walls were excited or nervous. She grabbed her phone, recorded audio, played it back. The breathing was there, clear and undeniable. She wasn't imagining it. Jade tried to sleep on the couch. Couldn't. The living room walls breathed too. She ended up in her car in the parking garage, seat reclined, trying to rest. Managed 3 hours of broken sleep before her alarm. First day at her new job downtown. She needed to be functional. The day was endless. She was distracted, exhausted, kept thinking about the walls. Her supervisor noticed, asked if everything was okay. She said yes, moving stress, it would pass. She left at 5, dreading going back. The apartment looked innocent in evening light. Golden hour sun through windows, her boxes stacked neatly, her new couch and coffee table arranged carefully. Nothing seemed wrong. Maybe night made everything weird. Maybe tonight would be different. She ordered takeout, watched Netflix, stayed up late hoping exhaustion would override fear. At midnight, she brushed her teeth, changed into pajamas, got into bed. At 1:17 a.m., the breathing started. Jade was ready this time. She'd bought a stud finder at Target during lunch, trying to think practically. If the walls were moving, something was causing it. Something mechanical or structural. She turned on her bedroom light, ran the stud finder across the wall. It registered studs normally, 16 inches on center, standard construction. Nothing unusual, but the walls kept breathing. She put her palm flat against the paint, felt the expansion, the contraction, felt warmth, felt something else. A pulse, like a heartbeat, slow and steady, coming from deep inside the wall. She pressed her ear against it, heard the breathing clearly now. And underneath, something else. Liquid sounds, gurgling, flowing, like blood moving through veins. Like the wall had circulatory system. Jade backed away. This wasn't mechanical. This wasn't explainable. This was impossible. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Do you hear it?" A woman's voice, whispered and urgent. "Who is this?" "Previous tenant, 2D. I found your number in the lease transfer documents. I'm sorry. I should have warned you." "Warned me about what?" "The building is alive." Jade sat down. "What do you mean alive?" "I mean, it's alive. It breathes. It has a heartbeat. It knows you're there. It watches. It wants." The woman's voice cracked. "I lasted 3 weeks. Couldn't take it anymore. That's why the rent is so cheap. That's why the unit is always available. That's insane." Is it? You're hearing it right now, aren't you? 1:17 a.m., that's when it starts. Every night. I thought I was losing my mind. But then I started researching. Found other tenants. Talked to them. They all experienced the same thing. What is it? What's causing it? I don't know. Nobody knows. The building was built on old industrial land. Factory or slaughterhouse or something. Before that, who knows? Maybe it soaked up something. Maybe the land is wrong. Maybe buildings can become conscious if enough people live in them. Enough emotions, enough life force concentrated in one place. The woman laughed, high and strained. Or maybe I'm completely insane and so are you. How do I make it stop? You don't. You leave. Break the lease, lose your deposit. Find somewhere else. Don't wait. The longer you stay, the worse it gets. Worse how? You'll see. I'm sorry. I have to go. I can't talk about this anymore. Just leave, please. The call ended. Jade sat in her breathing bedroom, processing. She couldn't leave. She'd signed a year lease, paid first and last month's rent plus security deposit. $3,000 she couldn't afford to lose. And her job was here. Her life was here. She couldn't run from breathing walls. She decided to document everything. Treat it scientifically. If the walls were alive, there would be evidence. She could measure, record, prove it. Show management, break the lease with cause, get her money back. She started that night. Measured wall temperature with an infrared thermometer. The walls registered 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Body temperature. Normal room temperature was 68. This was 30 degrees higher. She measured wall expansion with a ruler pressed against the baseboard. The walls moved a quarter inch with each breath cycle. Measurable. Real. She took thermal images with her phone's camera and a cheap thermal attachment. The walls glowed bright in infrared, heat distribution matching a living organism. Hot spots where major blood vessels would be. Cooler spots between. She collected this evidence over 3 nights. Each night the breathing intensified. By night 3, the walls were moving a half inch, breathing faster, temperature rising to 99 degrees. Like the building had a fever. On night 4, Jade went to the property management office with her evidence. Showed them temperature readings, measurements, audio recordings, thermal images. The property manager looked at everything. Ms. Morrison, I think you're experiencing stress. Moving is very difficult. These readings could be caused by many things: heating system, pipes, normal building functions. Normal buildings don't have body temperature walls. I'll send maintenance to check your unit, but I can't break your lease based on this. If maintenance finds a legitimate problem, we'll address it. Maintenance came that afternoon. 2 guys, early 20s, bored. They checked her radiators, her vents, her pipes, found nothing wrong. Temperature feels fine to me, one said. You might be too sensitive to heat. Try adjusting your thermostat. They left. That night, Jade waited. At 1:17 a.m., the breathing started, but different now. Louder, aggressive. The walls expanded a full inch, contracted, expanded again. The heartbeat underneath was thunderous. She could hear it without pressing her ear to the wall, and the walls started secreting something. Liquid beaded on the paint surface. Clear, viscous body temperature. It ran down in rivulets, pooled at the baseboards. Jade touched it carefully. It was slick, organic. It smelled like sweat. The walls were sweating. She ran to the bathroom. The walls there were doing it too. Kitchen, living room. Every wall in the apartment was secreting liquid, breathing hard, pulse racing, like the building was panicking or excited. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. It knows you're trying to leave. It doesn't want you to. Who is this? Former tenant, different unit. It did this to me too. Got worse when I tried to document, when I tried to expose it. The building doesn't like that. What does it want? Residents, occupants, life inside it. It feeds on us somehow. Our presence, our fear, our energy. The more scared you are, the more active it gets. How do I stop it? I don't know. I left, went to a hotel, never went back. Lost everything in that apartment. Better than staying. Jade looked at her walls. The liquid was pooling now, spreading across her floor. The breathing was deafening. The temperature was rising, her thermometer reading 103 degrees. The building had a fever. She grabbed her keys, her wallet, her phone, ran for the door. It wouldn't open. The deadbolt was engaged, but wouldn't turn. She tried the handle. Stuck. The door frame had swollen, wood expanding, trapping the door. The windows. She ran to the living room window, tried to open it. Painted shut. She tried the bedroom window. Same thing. Both windows immobile, sealed. The walls were closing in, actually moving inward, expanding beyond their normal breathing rhythm. The apartment was getting smaller. Jade measured with her eyes, with her arms spread. The living room was 6 inches narrower than this afternoon. She was sure of it. She called 911. I'm trapped in my apartment. The door won't open. The windows won't open. I need help. Ma'am, what's the nature of your emergency? I'm trapped. The building is... She stopped. How could she explain? The door is jammed. I need the fire department. They came. Jade heard them in the hallway, heard them knocking. Fire department, ma'am. Stand back from the door. They forced it. The door opened easily for them. They came in, 3 firefighters, looking concerned and confused. Ma'am, the door seems fine now. What was the problem? Jade looked. The door hung normally. The frame looked regular, no swelling. It was stuck. I couldn't open it. They checked the door, the frame, the locks. Everything worked normally. Sometimes doors stick with humidity. Temperature changes. Seems okay now. What about the walls? The liquid? They looked. The walls were dry. No secretions. No sweat. Clean beige paint. 1 firefighter touched them. Feel room temperature to me. They left after determining no emergency. Jade stood in her normal-seeming apartment. The breathing had stopped. The walls were cool and dry and motionless, like none of it had happened. But her evidence. She checked her phone. The videos were corrupted. The thermal images showed normal room temperature. Her audio recordings played back as silence. All her measurements, her documentation, gone or changed. Jade didn't sleep that night. Sat on her couch with lights on, watching the walls. They stayed normal until 6 a.m. Then the breathing started again, just slightly, barely noticeable, but there. She called in sick to work, went to a lawyer, explained she needed to break her lease. The lawyer reviewed her contract, shook his head. Without cause, you'll lose your deposit and potentially owe additional penalties. Do you have documentation of the issues? No. It was deleted. Then you don't have a case. Jade went back to 2D. She had no choice. She couldn't afford to lose $3,000. Couldn't afford hotel indefinitely. She had to stay, had to adapt. She learned the rules. The breathing started at 1:17 a.m., stopped at 6 a.m. During that time, don't touch the walls. Don't measure, don't document. The building didn't like being examined. If she left it alone, it left her alone. Mostly. She lives there still. 6 months now. She's adapted, uses earplugs at night, avoids thinking about it. pretends everything is normal. But sometimes, during the day, when she's not paying attention, she sees things. Veins beneath the paint, pulsing gently. Capillary networks spreading, eyes opening in the walls, watching her briefly before closing. The building is alive. She accepts this now. She lives inside something alive, something conscious, something that wants her there. And every night at 1:17 a.m. it breathes. Story 7. The Maintenance Man Who Never Left. The work order came through at 11:43 p.m. on a Sunday, which was wrong already because maintenance didn't do late-night calls at Harborview Apartments in Boston, except for true emergencies. But Lena Kowalski's screen showed the request clearly. Unit 5J, leaking ceiling, urgent, maintenance required immediately. Lena was the night supervisor, 34 years old, 7 years with the company, competent and professional. She tried calling the tenant in 5J. No answer. She called the emergency contact on file. Disconnected number. She pulled up the lease records. Unit 5J was occupied by Martin Reese, single occupant, moved in 11 months ago, no complaints on record, rent paid on time. A leaking ceiling was serious. Could be the unit above, 6J, with a burst pipe or overflowing toilet. Could cause major damage if not addressed. Lena grabbed her tools, her master key, her radio. Protocols said to bring someone else for late-night calls. She radioed Tommy, the night security guard. "Tommy, I got a maintenance call for 5J. Leaking ceiling. Can you meet me up there?" "Copy. On my way." They met at the 5th floor elevator. Tommy was 50-something, retired cop, solid presence. They walked to 5J together. The hallway was quiet, most tenants asleep. Lena knocked. "Maintenance, we got a call about a leak." No answer. She knocked louder. "Mr. Reese, it's building maintenance. We need to check your ceiling." Nothing. She used her master key. The apartment was dark. She called out again, flipped the light switch. The living room illuminated. Normal apartment. Furniture, television, some clutter. No signs of water damage on the ceiling. "Where's the leak?" Tommy asked. Lena walked through the apartment, checking rooms. Kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, all ceilings looked intact. No water stains, no dripping. Nothing. Maybe the call was a mistake. Or a prank. At midnight. They checked again, more, carefully. Still nothing. Lena took photos for documentation, locked up, headed back downstairs. She'd file a report, note no issue found, close the work order. But at 12:17 a.m., another work order came through. Unit 5J, leaking ceiling, urgent, same exact request. Lena checked her system. The previous work order was marked closed. This was a new request. She called 5J again. No answer. Called the emergency contact. Still disconnected. "Tommy, I'm getting another call from 5J. Same issue." "We just checked. There's no leak." "I know. But the system says it's urgent." They went back up. Knocked. No answer. Entered. The apartment looked exactly as they'd left it. No tenant present, no leak, nothing changed. "This is weird," Tommy said. Lena agreed. She called the property manager, got voicemail, left a message explaining the situation. She closed the work order again, added detailed notes about finding nothing wrong. At 12:51 a.m., a third work order. Unit 5J. Leaking ceiling, urgent. "This is harassment," Tommy said. "Someone's messing with the system. The system requires tenant credentials to submit work orders. Only Mr. Reese could submit these." "Then where is he?" Lena checked the security footage, pulled up the lobby cameras, elevator cameras, floor cameras, scrolled back through the last 24 hours. Martin Reese appeared on camera at 6:43 p.m., entering the building. Took the elevator to 5. Walked to 5J. Entered his apartment. Never came out. He should be there. But he wasn't. They went back to 5J. Third time now. Lena unlocked the door, called out. No response. They searched more thoroughly. Checked closets, under the bed, behind furniture. No Martin Reese. No signs of forced exit. Maybe he climbed out a window, Tommy suggested. They checked. All windows were closed and locked from the inside. 5th floor. No fire escape on this side. Nobody could climb out without unlocking the window, and all were secured. Martin Reese had entered 5J at 6:43 p.m. and vanished. We need to call the police, Lena said. And tell them what? Guy submitted maintenance requests from inside his apartment, but isn't there? He's a missing person. He's been gone 6 hours. Police won't respond until 24 hours minimum. Another work order came through while they stood in the apartment. Unit 5J, leaking ceiling, urgent. Lena's phone buzzed. Text message, unknown number. Check the maintenance closet. Who is this? She texted back. No response. She showed Tommy. What maintenance closet? Each floor has one. Utility closet with water heaters, HVAC access. The 5th floor maintenance closet was at the end of the hallway, opposite side from 5J. Lena unlocked it, flipped the light switch. Nothing happened. The closet stayed dark. She used her flashlight. The space was larger than normal, bigger than she remembered. The closet should have been maybe 6 feet deep, enough for the water heater and some shelving. But her flashlight beam stretched back into darkness, illuminating what looked like a corridor. That's not right, Tommy said. They stepped inside. The maintenance closet extended impossibly far. 20 feet? 30? More. The walls were rough concrete, pipes running along the ceiling, fluorescent lights flickering irregularly. It looked like a basement access corridor, but they were on the 5th floor. Where does this go? Lena whispered. They walked carefully, flashlights scanning. The corridor turned, extended further. They passed doors along the walls, metal doors with no labels. Lena tried one, locked. She tried another, also locked. The 3rd door opened. Inside was another apartment. Same layout as 5J, same furniture even. But wrong. The colors were faded, the furniture was older, the television was from decades ago. And someone lived there. Evidence of occupation. Dirty dishes in the sink, clothing on a chair, bed unmade. But no, person present. Tommy, what is this? I don't know. They backed out, continued down the corridor, found more doors, more apartments behind them, all similar to 5J but from different eras. One had 1970s decor, one looked 1980s, one had furniture from the 90s. It's like copies of the same apartment, Lena said. Different time periods. That's impossible. They found a door that looked newer, same style as the current building. Lena opened it. The apartment inside was exactly 5J. Current furniture, current television, occupied bed, and someone was there. Martin Reese, lying in bed, eyes open, not moving. Mr. Reese? Lena approached carefully. Are you okay? He didn't respond, didn't blink. She touched his shoulder. He was warm, breathing, alive, but completely unresponsive, catatonic. We need to call an ambulance, Tommy said. Lena's radio crackled. Static, then a voice. Not Tommy's voice. Older. Distorted. You shouldn't be here. Who is this? You need to leave. The corridor isn't for you. Who are you? I'm the maintenance man. I take care of the building. I've always been here. What did you do to Mr. Reese? Nothing. He found the corridor, went exploring. Now he's part of it. Same as the others. What others? All of them. Everyone who found the corridor. They stay. They become part of the building, part of the structure. That's how it works. Lena looked at Martin Reese. His eyes were open but glazed, seeing nothing, living but not present. "We're taking him out of here," she said. "You can try." Tommy grabbed Martin Reese's arms. Lena took his legs. They lifted him, started carrying him toward the door. He was heavy, dead weight. They got him into the corridor. The lights went out. Completely dark except for their flashlights. The corridor changed, extended further. The door they'd entered through was gone. Just more corridor in both directions. "Lena, which way?" "I don't know." They picked a direction, walked. The corridor seemed endless now. They passed more doors, heard sounds behind some, people talking, people crying, people screaming, all muffled, distant. "How many are there?" Tommy asked. "I don't know." They walked for what felt like hours. Martin Reese stayed unconscious in their grip. The corridor never ended, never changed, just stretched on. Lena's phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. "Put him back." "No. You can't take him. He's part of the building now. Put him back and you can leave." "We're not leaving him." "Then you'll stay too." The corridor lights flickered back on. Ahead was a door different from the others. Newer, with a sign, "Exit." They reached it. Lena pushed it open. Found themselves in the 5th-floor hallway of Harborview Apartments. Normal hallway. Familiar. The maintenance closet door was behind them. Ordinary 6-foot closet, water heater visible. They were out. They carried Martin Reese to the lobby, called 911. Paramedics came, took him. He was alive, but unresponsive. They transported him to the hospital. Lena and Tommy gave statements to police. Explained they found him unconscious in his apartment. Didn't mention the corridor. Who would believe it? Martin Reese stayed in the hospital for 3 days. On the 4th day, he woke up. Confused, disoriented. Couldn't remember what happened. Last memory was going to bed Sunday night. He'd lost 5 days. He didn't renew his lease. Moved out as soon as possible. Lena requested transfer to day shift. Management approved. She doesn't work nights anymore. Doesn't go near the 5th-floor maintenance closet. But sometimes, doing routine inspections, she sees things. Doors and walls that shouldn't have doors. Corridors leading off hallways that she knows end at fire exits. Glimpses of spaces that can't exist. And sometimes, on security footage, she sees someone who isn't a tenant. An older man in maintenance uniform. Walking the hallways at night, checking doors, going into the maintenance closets, never coming out. The building is 60 years old. Lena researched its history, found records of previous maintenance staff. One name appeared frequently in old documents. Harold Simmons, building superintendent from 1964 to 1991. Died on the job. Heart attack. In the 5th-floor maintenance closet. Nobody found him for 3 days. Lena wonders if he's still there. Still working. Still taking care of the building. Taking care of the residents. In his own way. She wonders how many apartments exist in those corridors. How many residents are trapped there. How many people have vanished over 60 years. The building has 60 units officially. But in the corridors behind the maintenance closets, there are more. Many more. And they're all occupied. Lena doesn't work nights anymore. But she still gets the work orders. Unit 5J, leaking ceiling, urgent. They come through regularly. She marks them as spam. Closes them. Ignores them. But they keep coming. Every night at 11:43 p.m. Same request. Same unit. Still leaking.